there is no rush for the Russian Federation in that situation. Of course, it cannot ignore the will of the Russian people in eastern Ukraine. And at the same time, the Kremlin is weighing all sort of risks which are there, geopolitical, economic, military, and so on and so forth.
What would the military risks be for Russia of absorbing Donetsk and Lugansk regions?
The war, Russia-Ukrainian war, for example, which might be a dream of some strategist in Washington, D.C., but it's not something which is in the minds of the strategists here in Moscow. That would be a disaster for the Russian Federation and for Ukraine and for the future relationship between Russia and Ukraine. The forces of history have been unleashed, and we don't know where they're going to stop. We do not know whether there will be next referendum in the other parts of Ukraine, like in Kharkov, in Dnipropetrovsk, Nikolaev, Odessa, Zaporozhye. It can expand, actually, what they call Novorossiya. And this is a big entity, hard to ignore.
You say the forces of history have been unleashed. The West would accuse Russia of unleashing those forces by annexing Crimea and destabilizing the situation in eastern Ukraine. Who do you think has unleashed these forces?
Of course, the West. No question that America was very much behind the unconstitutional overthrow of government in Kiev in February, and installing the unconstitutional government which is running Ukraine now.
But the separatist movement in eastern Ukraine, the creation of people's republics, the people's referendum, isn't that part of a Kremlin plan to destabilize Ukraine?
No, of course not. That was a natural reaction to the ultranationalists overtaking power in Kiev.
And Moscow hasn't encouraged that. There are for example, no Russian fighters in eastern Ukraine, no Russian paramilitary groups or armed Cossacks who are taking part in the operation?
Well, of course there are no Russian armed forces, there are no paramilitary troops. There may be, I would not exclude that, some Russian volunteers, which is so natural in this big world.